Jane had always loved her husband, Dixon, for his kindness and care. He was a devoted father and an excellent provider, but there was one unspoken issue in their marriage: physical intimacy. There was nothing Dixon about his dick. Jane had tried to ignore it, suggesting remedies and even purchasing items to help enlarge it, but nothing seemed to work. Over the years, her frustrations grew, but she never voiced them fully. When Christmas came around, Jane decided it would be a good idea to take her 2 sons to the village to spend time with Dixon's father, Grandpa Douglas. He was a widower who lived alone, and Jane thought the company of his grandchildren would brighten his spirits. Dixon had work obligations and promised to join them in 3 days. The trip to the village was exciting, and Grandpa Douglas was overjoyed to see his grandchildren and Jane. That evening, Jane prepared a hearty meal for the family, and Grandpa Douglas praised her cooking, saying it reminded him of his late wife's skills. His gratitude warmed Jane's heart, but later that night, an unexpected moment changed everything. While heading to her room, Jane noticed the bathroom door slightly ajar. She glimpsed Grandpa Douglas taking a shower, his physique unexpectedly strong for his age. What caught her off guard, however, was a personal detail she couldn't ignore, something she had never seen with her husband. A magnificent manhood standing so tall. One could mistake it for a leg. Jane felt an unfamiliar mix of emotions: shock, curiosity, and a longing she couldn't suppress. That night, she couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, wrestling with her thoughts and the feelings that began to overwhelm her. The next night, after ensuring the children were asleep, Jane found herself at Grandpa Douglas's door. Wearing a nightgown that left little to the imagination, she knocked softly, offering to bring him anything he needed. Grandpa Douglas thanked her for her kindness and reiterated his gratitude for the meal. But when Jane took a bold step, shedding her modesty and revealing her intentions, Grandpa Douglas hesitated only briefly before giving in to the temptation. What followed was a moment Jane had never experienced in her marriage. She felt alive, desired, and fulfilled. But as the night ended and she returned to her room, guilt began to creep in. 3 days later, Dixon arrived, excited to see his family. Jane played the role of a loving wife, but the secret moments with Grandpa Douglas continued. One night, unable to resist, she left her husband's bed to be with his father. But Grandpa Douglas, aware of the risks, urged her to return before Dixon noticed. Despite his warnings, Jane's desires clouded her judgment. That night, their intimacy reached its peak, and Jane began to compare her life with Dixon to the passion she felt with his father.